So we're about to do another live chat.
Sound check presenter. Sound check presenter laptop. Sound check clerks. Sound check clerks laptop.
can't hear the chair.
Okay, everyone, do you hear me?
Yes.
Do you loud and clear?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I would like to call the meeting to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals and the media may also be audible and or visually recording this meeting. All electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during the committee meetings. Members are reminded of the 5-minute time limit, which will be adhered to during this meeting. Members can submit another request to speak if they require more time to ask questions or make comments. I will do roll call. Councillor Clark.
I am here, Madam Chair, and please be advised that I'll have to leave around 2:30 as I have a constituent with an item on the Committee of Adjustment agenda.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
I'm sorry, Councillor Clark, can you turn your camera on?
No.
Okay.
Just a second.
You do look good today. I already saw you.
I'm struggling with bandwidth, so I may have to shut it off again.
Okay, that's fine. You're there. Okay, Councillor Jackson.
Ward 6 is here, Chair.
Great. Councillor Marula.
Present. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Nan.
Good afternoon, present.
And Councillor Whitehead. Okay, he sends his regrets. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, there are a number of changes to the agenda. We have 2 new delegation requests. Item 6.3 from Brian H. Sibley from the Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes, Inc., respecting Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes, Inc. subsidy transfer. That's item 10.3 on today's agenda. That is for the delegation request is for today's meeting. And then we have item 6.4, delegation request from Robert Scott Innes, respecting an update to the committee on the progress of affordable low-cost housing program, and that's for a future meeting. We have item 7.3 under consent items, the Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee minutes from February 4th and March 3rd. And then we have private and confidential item 14.2, Dominic Augustino Riverdale Recreation Center License Agreement, report HSC 20052, Ward 5. That item was already on the agenda, but the rationale for going to closed session respecting this item was amended to include section 8.1, subsection K of the city's procedural bylaw 18270 as amended, and section 239.2, subsection K of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter also pertains to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, which was missing from the original agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as amended? Councillor Nan and Councillor Marula. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may also request an addition to the agenda under other business, if General Manager Johnson is okay with it, I would appreciate a public update on the former Emerald Lodge RCF in Ward 3.
That's great, and we will do that when we get to consent items. All right?
No, other business.
Or no, other business, sorry. Okay, I just looking at the, okay, thank you, Councillor. So it was moved by Councillor Nance, second by Councillor Marula. Is there any discussions on the agenda as amended? I see none. We will require electronic vote. Please indicate as soon as it comes up. Sorry, folks, I was unmuted and somehow it muted again. So we are voting now on 4.1 on the minutes. So thank you. And all in favor? Okay. So everybody can hear me now? Okay, thank you. Okay. Delegation request. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the delegation request 6164 as presented? Councillor Marula and Councillor Jackson, thank you for that. Is there any discussion on any delegation request? I see none. We require an e-vote. Please indicate now. Thank you. It passes. Okay. Consent items. May I move and a seconder to put items 7.1 and 7.3 on the floor? Councillor Clark and Councillor Nan. Is there any question regarding 7.1? Councillor Chad. It's nice to see Councillor Chad Collins. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. I'm actually going to speak to the 7.2 if you don't mind.
Okay. Go ahead.
And nice to see you.
I can't hear you.
Thank you. Can I address 7.2 right now, or are you going to do?
Yes, you can. Please do. 7.2 is fine. Thank you.
I want to first thank staff. I know they've been working with the Conservation Authority over the last number of years on the update and the strategy for the Wild Waterworks facility, which is in my ward, and has been operating in my ward since early 80s, I think 1983. So first, thanks to staff for bringing this forward. Can I just first ask a question as it relates to direction from here? I thought I read in the report, it's an information report, but I thought I read that staff will come back in time for the 2022 budget process with some recommendations. And I wasn't sure what recommendation they've adopted. I understand what the consultant has recommended, but I wasn't certain what option staff will pursue when the update comes back in preparation of the 2022 capital budget process.
Thank
Just
you.
want to be clear on that.
All right. And what staff? Would it be Paul Johnson?
through you, Madam Chair,
Oh,
it's Chris.
Chris is here.
It's Chris Erstek
Yes.
from Recreation. I'm going to ask Romus Kalasius, who's the lead from Recreation, to answer those questions, as he was the author of the report.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Romus Kalasius. I'm the Senior Project Manager in Recreation. So through the chair, thank you for your question, Councillor Collins. Our intention is exactly as you said. So we are going to be working with other city units, particularly the finance unit and the facilities unit, to review the consultant's recommendation and see how we could make that, see if it's feasible, see what that would look like. And then our plan is to bring back a recommendation report with the details of the impacts of that kind of recommendation from the consultant's report. And at that point, the recommendation would be to forward this to the capital.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
for that. If I could, Madam Chairman, I want to make sure we capitalize on whatever opportunities might exist with other levels of government, just to be clear through you to Romus. And I did have the opportunity a couple of years ago to meet with Conservation Authority staff as well as consultants. And we talked about the opportunities for the private sector. And so many facilities like the one that we offer.
Can't hear you quite well. Can you speak clearer? We can't hear you.
You can't hear me, Madam Chair?
Now we can. It was breaking up.
Okay, I think there's some background noise somewhere on the call. I want to make sure that we're pursuing possible funding opportunities from other levels of government, as well as opportunities with the private sector. And so we have had discussions in the past about what the landscape looks like for facilities like Wild Water Works. And so most recently, as you know, over the last decade or so, many of these facilities have gravitated to a both indoor and outdoor facility. Great Wolf Lodge is a great example in terms of facilities that are offered elsewhere. Kalahari in the States, and there are all kinds of examples, many of which I've been to with my own kids when they were a younger age. So the facility today looks a lot like it did in 1983. Not a lot has changed. It's been very well maintained by the Conservation Authority and by city staff. And so I believe, though, that the report illustrates that in order for this facility to be viable and to remain competitive, there needs to be some additional investments, and those investments and the recommendations couldn't come at a worse time, obviously. So I fully understand that for the next 2 years, it's status quo. We continue to make the investments in the facility as we see fit. Nobody knows what next year holds in store for us as it relates to the pandemic. And so in all likelihood, we'll have another difficult decision to make in terms of whether there's public confidence in visiting facilities like Wild Water Works and whether we should reopen it again in 2021. I think, we're going to need some additional information, see the status of the pandemic and a possible vaccine through the winter and spring months. So we wait for all that to occur. That gives us good time leading up to the 2022 budget process. But I did want to make note, as I just referenced, hoping that Romus and others will, through that time, look at opportunities from both levels of government, as well as the private sector, and any opportunities that might exist to assist us with whatever direction we make or may support as it relates to making further investments in the facility. So those are my comments, and if staff has anything to add,
I think, Chris, you want to respond?
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, Councillor, we can take that as direction for when we report back the investigating into private money to be put into this as well, you bet, and or privatization, whatever we can do, and other levels of government providing funding. We can take that as direction.
Thank you. And Councillor Collins, it's always a pleasure to see you in our health and safety meeting. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, I think we have Councillor Jackson. Did you want to speak on 7.1 or? Can you hear me? We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Now we can. Thank you. And
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It is on 7.1, and this is about the all-season soccer facility proposal. Again, an information report from Director Chris Erstek and Manager Don Walton. And I just have a few questions. I'm satisfied where the report ends up on page 5, Madam Chair, which basically says the unsolicited proposal from Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer Club a great organization that's been around for about 55 years, providing soccer for kids and recreational programs, primarily out of Macassa Park, but across the entire mountain. And it says at the end of it, the next steps will be, although the proposal has been delayed, a complete needs analysis for indoor soccer facilities will be included in our recreational master study plan to be completed next year sometime. This analysis will identify such a facility, such as Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer Club has proposed for the location of Billy Shearing Park, where and best the location should be, and in this case, whether the proposal or others could be brought forward in the future. In the meantime, so I'm satisfied where it ends up, Madam Chair. However, I do want to go back on the report, quickly ask a couple of questions through you to either Director Herstek or Senior Project Manager Kalasius or Manager Walton. On page 2 are the two main reasons that we're, the club and city staff have put a halt to pursuing this more vigorously at this time, Madam Chair. Primarily, is it because of COVID? And is it because of the reopening of Players Paradise? Through you, Madam Chair, whoever could answer that, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct, Councillor. When we initiated the study and the business proposal submitted by the Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer, you're correct. The soccer facility, indoor facility in Stony Creek had closed down, and there was a need for indoor soccer facilities. The soccer club did ask us to pause their business proposal because COVID did affect their outdoor season this year as well. So I believe they want to find out what the rules and regulations are going to be, and they've asked us to wait until next year, and they're going to let us know when they're going to bring the proposal back to the city for review.
Thank you for that confirmation, Director. Director as well, Madam Chair, a couple more questions. At the bottom of page 4, it talks about survey results, Chris, and it says the Hamilton District Soccer Association, the umbrella organization that Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer and other clubs come under, it says on its final bullet point, 83% of respondents feel an additional year-round indoor soccer facility are needed for training and development. 41%, this is critical. Then later on, staff did their own responses. And it pretty well mirrors the association surveys where it says at the top of page 5, Madam Chair, 88% of respondents feel an indoor year-round soccer facility is needed. 44% feel it's critical. Chris, can you or Romus or Don just explain to me the 83% versus 41% think it's critical, 88% feel it's needed, 44% think it's critical. Does that mean I subtract 41 from 88, that means the other 47% don't think it's as critical? Can somebody just reconcile those numbers for me, and the criticalness versus the overall solid majority that says we need this facility? Through you, Madam Chair.
Through you, Madam Chair, certainly, Councillor. So you mean the great need, the 80%, I believe that you referenced, that was all soccer. So both House League, All-Star, and that really would help to extend the season instead of just the spring, summer, and fall, which is an outdoor season, would allow all the House Leagues as well, if they wanted to, play an indoor during the winter. The 41% that think it is critical, those are the, I'm going to say travel or all-star teams that are very competitive during the summer, but also would like to be competitive during the winter time. And many of them do have to go to other communities for indoor soccer to extend their seasons. And that's why they believe it is critical, so that they can keep their athletes within the city.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, explanation. And lastly, Madam Chair, top of page 2, Chris, I would humbly ask your staff to go back. It says that they only represent 2,500 members. I take it that means kids enrolled in the program. Chris, all my many years, almost 30 years that I have sponsored a team every year at Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer, they typically are in the 4,000 to 5,000 range of kids that they keep off the street and participating in soccer. I don't know if that's a COVID number maybe, but I would simply ask your staff to go back and verify that with the club for your records. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Through you, Madam Chair, we certainly will, Councillor. We do know that Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer is one of our largest organizations, so we will take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Can I give the chair to Councillor Nan for a minute? I wanted to ask Chris, if you could help me out here, it's the location on the mountain for this facility only?
Through you, Madam Chair. The business proposal submitted by Mount Hamilton Youth Soccer identified one location, which was Billy Shearing Park, which is up on the mountain, yes.
And yeah, and that is my ward, right? Ward 7, Billy Shearing?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's the only location they were looking at?
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe that's their preferred location. I'm
Right.
sure they would be, you mean because they do play a lot of their games there, but I'm sure they would be open to other suggestions throughout the city. But I believe that is close to their home, and that's why that was their #1 priority area.
Right. So when we get the report, we will know exactly if there's other locations on the mountain where we could open up this facility, right?
Through Madam Chair, our expectation through our master plan would be to not only find what the demand is for an indoor facility, but also possible locations, and that will come out within the report.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I'll take the chair back. All right, we will move on. We will require electronic vote for 7-1 and 7-2. Please indicate your vote now. And it's right there. Thank you. And it's carried. Thank you. Oh, Councilor Clark, you voted? Okay.
Yeah, my bandwidth is a little bit slow, so it's getting there.
I assumed you. Yes. Okay. Let's move on. Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee minutes. Are there any questions regarding 7.3A and B? Okay, I see none. We'll require an e-vote for item 7.3A and B. Please indicate your vote. Okay, Councillor Clark and Councillor Jackson. Thank you. Can they hear you? Okay.
I don't have anything. Oh, now it's turning black. There it goes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's really slow.
All right. Just we'll wait a little bit longer here. And it's carried. Thank you. Public hearings.
Barb, smells great.
Oh,
I can smell it too, Barb.
I unmuted myself.
No.
Oh
Please,
my God, I'm
unmute
sorry.
yourself. It's okay.
I did.
I don't know
my
what you were
goodness.
smelling. Okay.
It's dinner and I'm coming.
Actually, she's making chocolate chip cookies, but carry on.
Okay, we'll carry on. Thank you. So mute yourself. Okay, Profit Homes Inc. Subsidized transfer. Brian, now you got me all. Okay, public here. I would like to call upon Brian Sibley, Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Home Inc. Respecting Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes Inc. Subsidized transfer. Brian, please turn on your camera and unmute your microphone. And Brian, if I can see you, there you are. I know you are. I've spoken to you many times. You have 5 minutes. And if you need more time, let us know and we'll vote on it. Please, thank you.
They all said, what is it, Tom? Must smell really good.
Great. Good day, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity for me to make this brief presentation. My name is Brian Sibley. I'm the Executive Director of Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes. I'm here to speak to item 10.3 relating to the subsidy transfer report by the Housing Services staff number 20032. Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes is a registered charitable, not-for-profit organization. We've provided affordable housing to families in the Hamilton area since 1982. Currently, Kiwanis Homes is the third largest social housing provider in Hamilton, owning and managing approximately 1,000 units, consisting of apartment buildings, townhouses, and single-family dwellings. As a housing provider which focuses on providing services to families, almost all of our units are 2 or more bedrooms. 98% of our residents come directly from the central waiting list. And over the past 5 years, 90% of our new residents are persons assessed as leaving situations of abuse. Effectively, this means female-led families with children. Kiwanis Homes is also a partner in the Hamilton is Home Collective, and we're committed to the creation of new affordable housing units. I'm here today to confirm our commitment to the goal of creating more affordable housing units in Hamilton, to define some of the challenges in relation to financing of this endeavor, and to express our support for the report being submitted today by Housing Services staff for your review. In 2016 and 2017, following an extensive consultation with our residents, our partners, and stakeholders, the Board of Directors of Kiwanis Homes established an ambitious goal to create 1,000 new units of affordable housing for families in Hamilton. This goal would effectively double the size of our organization. Working with our partners at the City of Hamilton and the federal and provincial governments, this goal will be accomplished through the pursuance of 3 strategies. One is intensifying our existing low-density properties to create additional affordable units. Number 2 would be collaborating with other organizations to acquire land on which to develop new affordable housing. And number 3 will be to leverage our existing assets to secure financing and to create capital for new construction. To finance this plan, our organization plans to invest the equity which has been created in our portfolios through our stewardship over the past 35 years. Our expected investment over the next 3 years alone is projected to be in the neighborhood of $40 to $50 million from this source. Implementation of this plan, though, will require us to dispose some of our existing units either through sale or demolition. We commit that the deeply affordable housing units lost through this process will be replaced on a minimum 1-to-1 ratio, at least a minimum 1-to-1. The challenge that we're facing is that in addition to the substantive cost of new construction, we're also going to experience a concomitant loss of revenue resulting from the loss of subsidies attached to the housing units that we'll be either disposing of or putting up for sale. And I just want to note that our intention is not to sell units on the open market. Our intention is to sell units affordably through existing tenants through an affordable home ownership program. The reason why we're going to be, potentially losing this revenue is because as the units come out of our stock, the subsidies attached to them, the rent geared to income subsidies attached to them that are currently allocated to these units could potentially be lost. We believe that the plan outlined by our partners at Housing Services will assist to addressing this issue. Kiwanis Homes wants to support the recommendations contained in Housing Services Report HSC 200032, which advocates the continuance of RGI subsidies currently allocated to those units that may be temporarily lost, be used to offset the negative financial impact of the unit replacement process that our organization will be pursuing. This will also ensure that any existing monies that are allocated to RGI subsidies are maintained for future use on a long term. I want to thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any question for Brian Sibley? Okay, Councillor Nan, but before you do, members are reminded the questions of the delegations are for clarification purpose and not for debatable. Councillor Nan.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Sibley, for coming in today to delegate in reference to the report that's before this committee. And also thank you to Kiwanis for continuing your commitment to not only maintain deeply affordable housing in the city, but also to increase it. So in the report, there is a reference to the new building on Acorn, which is definitely welcome in Ward 3, and we're looking forward to its construction and housing of 60 different units. The report references, and you had mentioned 32 units that will essentially come offline once you're able to move them through your affordable home ownership program or otherwise. And you're seeking to transfer the rent subsidies that are attached to that unit to be applied to the new building on Acorn Street. I just wanted confirmation through the chair, if you could, Mr. Sibley, will all 32 units, 1 for 1, be accommodated within the Acorn building, Acorn Street building, in terms of 32 of the 60 units would be rent subsidy RGI.
Brian?
Through you, Madam Chair. Councillor Nan, thank you. We have made a commitment to the city, our city partners, that we would allow all 60 units to be used for that. What our priority is to make sure the building is sustainable, right? Now, part of the challenge going forward will be the manner in which those subsidies are transferred to the Acorn Street building, whether it's through rent subsidies or some other way. RGI subsidies are normally not transferred that way, but there'll be some options. So we're, what we're hoping is that we can provide more than the simple replacement of those 32 units. I just want to add one more thing here, is that the units that we are currently looking at disposing of are not habited by RGI residents. They're inhabited by people who are currently paying market rent. So what we're essentially doing is taking units that are being used in a manner that they weren't intended to be used and transferring it to a way to be used in a manner that they should be used. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nat, any other questions? I don't see none, so thank you, Brian, for your delegation, and I need a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation. Councillor Nan and Councillor Clark. Oh, Councillor Clark? Okay, thank you. We need a... And please indicate now. Councillor Marula, did you vote? Council. Okay, and it's carried. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Okay, discussion on Hamilton Fire Department Service Delivery Plan. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put the report to the floor? Councillor Marula and Councillor Jackson. Okay, I would like to call upon Chief Dave Cunliffe to introduce the item. Chief Cunliffe, please turn on your microphone and the camera. There you are. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to the committee, I stand before you today going to present to you the report that's going to show you what accomplishments have been made in the last 15 months since I was before you last June and then in council presenting our 10-year plan. It's important for me today, and on behalf of all the members of the Hamilton Fire Department, to say thank you to you and council for the support that you showed us when you endorsed the 10-year plan and the commitments that you made this year in the 2020 budget to help us move forward. I think it's important to know that in the report, you will see a number of accomplishments listed over a number of pages, including in the appendix. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to give you a few of the examples of what I would consider some major accomplishments that we've made over the past 15 months. And I want you to realize that the majority of these have been achieved through optimization of our current resources, which is extremely important given the economic and financial times that we're in here in the city. And just want you to be mindful that my leadership team and our department, as we're going through, as we committed to when I presented this last June, we're absolutely taking a look at the needs on an annual basis, and where we can, we're pushing things out. Where we are, we're modifying what we're doing so that we can ensure that we're providing the level of service that you and council want us to provide, and certainly one that is what the expectation of our citizens and residents that we serve. So if you're flipping through, you'll see a number of the accomplishments. I want to start off because there's some of these that are critical that have actually had a large role and played a big part in some of the things that have happened in the city in this last 15 months. So one of the things that we were very fortunate, we acquired some donations that helped us to acquire drone technology for the fire service. And this is to help us support both firefighting and rescue capabilities. I just wanted you to know that that technology was actually used at the Mr. Hughes fire down on Barton Street. It was a very significant, large fire. We were able to use the drone technology to help our incident commanders and suppression crews identify the direction of where that fire was going, and certainly helped us to suppress that fire in a much more a timely manner than if we hadn't had that. We've launched, and many of you are aware, we launched through the use of additional technology, an online portal in our fire prevention division for the purchase of burn permits. That saved a lot of angst during the early COVID months, where in the past, these types of permits would have to be picked up in person at the various locations. We're now expanding that in our fire prevention division to for other services that we provide to the public. So our goal is, as outlined in the plan, is to create an electronic purchase platform for all of the services that we are now providing. The other thing too is based on the risk assessment that was in the 10-year plan and the risk profiles of the communities, we've implemented a number of the action items that were in the 10-year plan. This included the development of an update of risk protocols, the types of apparatus and the amount of resource that we're sending to the various communities and the various types of incidents that we're going to. We've also done some modification in terms of shifting some of the areas from what was a volunteer response to a composite response area. This was identified in the plan and based on the risk assessment. So, for example, Lower Stony Creek in the Winona area is now a composite response area. And I bring this one to your attention because this had a large benefit for us. If you recall back a number of months ago, we had the significant townhouse fire in Lower Stony Creek. We responded to that as a composite response, which allowed us to have additional resources readily available in a timely manner. And I would suggest you had a large role to play in us being able to cut that fire off. Even though the loss was significant, it would have been much worse if we hadn't been able to get the resources there in a timely manner based on a composite response. We've also moved forward in terms of closest unit dispatch, and this is optimizing the use of the resources that we have based on their location, and this is through the use of technology and an update in our CAD, computer-aided dispatch system. We're already seeing benefits for that. Before, we used to have use geographic boundaries, i.e. like the escarpment. We had trucks that would stay down below rather than coming up above the escarpment. Quite frankly, just didn't make sense as we started to look at the risk profiles and how we could better optimize resources. We're already seeing that certainly in different areas, Stony Creek, Upper and Lower Stony Creek, where we have resources now moving up and down the escarpment, as well as in the core of the city. In the Aberdeen area, for example, we can certainly get there quicker from our Gar Street station, and our Ray Street station can get much more quickly up the hill into the areas, Hillfield, Strathallan area, and the escarpment. So we're starting to see some significant benefit from that as that change was implemented. We also then implemented the optimization of the use of resources by replacing the 3 single-function rescue units that were in the urban core areas with multi-purpose firefighting units. By doing that, it gave us increased capacity in terms of the types of equipment we have, and that as well as is allowing us to better optimize where we're deploying these units from. We've then turned around and redeployed the rescue units into the volunteer division, where they can be better utilized, more specifically for the medical type calls, as well as using them to transport volunteer firefighters to a scene. We've moved forward and we've developed and have now gone live with performance dashboards for each of our HFD divisions with key metrics. And so that's a commitment that we had made in the 10-year plan, so that we're starting to get a better handle on the outcomes that the divisions are now performing at, as well as giving us insight in terms of our ability to make decisions based on data and based on information. So we are no longer is there any kind of guesswork or hunches, so we're now using it, making decisions based on actual data and performance. We've continued to increase employee participation throughout the department. by increasing the number of working groups, and those working groups have played a significant role, whether it was the 2 truck committees that have helped us from a continuous improvement perspective, to moving to our ice water rescue group, the group that's another group that's looking at our whole fire suppression technique in terms of how we fight fires and using increased technology. And we also have got them involved in some of our recruitment strategies, specifically for volunteer firefighters. What we're seeing is an increased level in participation, and quite frankly, I think it's part and parcel because of the commitment that we have from committee and council to help this department move forward, and the employees absolutely want to take this department to a much better place. We've been participating in a number of City Lab projects over this last 15 months, and currently have a number of them underway with on the topics of firefighter safety, increasing firefighter safety, as well as from a fire prevention perspective. This has been a really neat experience for us, working with students from McMaster University from all different faculties to lend some of their insight into some of the areas that we're looking to see if we can get some continuous improvement. We've moved forward and hired the staff for the 2-day cruise up in Waterdown and Upper Stony Creek. Those staff are now currently in a recruit class, and they will be expected to graduate prior to the end of the year. The day cruise will go live in January 1st. Again, just a little reminder, through some of the savings we've been able to realize this year for a number of reasons, we were able to take on the cost of those day crew folks within our existing budget and provide those savings back to the city coffers earlier this year. From a continuous improvement perspective, we move forward with the changes to our urban pumper design to take a look at how we could better design a pumper to deal with the new road networks that we're now having within the city and the new types of development. We now have 3 of those trucks now in service and deployed across the city in both our center core as well as in our east end. And all indications are they're going quite well. Staff have embraced them, and we will continue to improve them as we go. We did the same thing in our rural volunteer division. We now have 5 new rural pumpers, which were part of a continuous improvement redesign that we used with our employee committees, which also this whole project of continuous improvement with the redesign of our trucks, both urban and rural, saved the city over $1 million just in terms of based on the feedback we got from our employees. We also have 4 new design tankers in service in the rural area, which are now delivering 2,000 gallons of water, which has certainly helped us. We just got word from fire underwriters a week ago that we've been able to reaffirm our Superior Tanker Shuttle accreditation for both commercial and residential properties, which can mean insurance rate decreases for some of our residents. We've also deployed a couple new 103-foot aerial ladder devices, one in Lower Stony Creek and one in Upper Stony Creek, and also serving the easterly portion of the mountain. It should be noted that the aerial device that's in Lower Stony Creek played a key role in that townhouse fire as well, having it deployed out of our full-time station on Highway number 8. You know, based on the optimization and also the redeployment and also the closest unit strategy, one of the things that you'll see in the report is we've been able to reduce some of our response times, which I think is a real benefit from what we've done, but it speaks volumes to our staff and what they're trying to do to, you know, through their own doing, get better and continuously improve. The other thing we've been able to do through, again, those same 3 type initiatives is we've been able to improve our ability to assemble an effective firefighting and rescue force. And you may remember last June, that was one of the things that I was trying to stress is the ability for us to have the right number of resources on scene in a timely manner to be able to effectively do the jobs and tasks that need to be done. And when you look at the report, you'll see that we're making great strides in that. And again, that completely goes back to our frontline staff, who are the ones that are doing a fantastic job. You know, at the end of the day, I think as I stand before you, I just want to acknowledge all of the efforts of my leadership team, as well as our frontline staff, because you know, it has been an interesting year, certainly, you know, and a trying year when it comes to the different types of impacts going on with COVID and things. But when you look at the amount of work and the accomplishments that have been done over the last 15 years, I can tell you that our staff have absolutely not lost any focus in terms of the direction we're trying to go. They've done a tremendous job in bringing a lot of these initiatives home. And quite frankly, I'm extremely proud of the work they do. And we absolutely are delivering on the promise we made to you and the residents in terms of the level of service that they're getting. I also want to just take a minute and publicly thank Helen Klump, who's my executive officer. From a leadership perspective, she has courage to ensure that we are moving forward and the implementation plan is happening. And she's done a tremendous job in terms of coordinating all that. So at the end of the day, I stand before you happy to answer any questions, but I'd like to just, again, thank you for your support to help us to accomplish the things that we've been able to do.
Thank you, Chief, and we surely appreciate all that you do for us. Is there any questions for the Chief? I see Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Specifically, I am looking at the appendix, and it talks about maintaining a viable and sustainable volunteer division by increasing the number of volunteer firefighters to the following stations from 25 to 40, which is very positive, given that I'm one of the communities that still has those hybrid stations, as you call them. I'm wondering how many classes of recruits we were able to swing in, I guess this year, 2020, or maybe it was in 2019, if the chief could answer that question. I know we were successful in 5 career classes, but I might have missed it when it talked about the volunteers.
So certainly through the chair to the councillor. So in 2019, we ran 2 recruit classes for volunteers. The second recruit class, we had to suspend partway through. We had 3 or 4 folks in that class that got injured. And then we had a few others that were unable to complete it. So we suspended that. Right now, we are currently going through interview process with the volunteers to have another class ready to go in January for the volunteers. The intent is with the volunteers, Councillor, we are changing our whole format, and we've been working with our committee that we struck from the volunteer division in terms of how best to ramp up the number of folks that we can get. So we're trying to go back to a station-based recruitment as well as a training program so that we can increase the numbers. Typically, recruit classes have been the number has been 30 is the max that we've been able to put through in a face-to-face environment. And we need to ramp that up as quickly as we can. So we're looking at a way by doing it in terms of the station participation of it, that we'll be able to look to double those numbers.
That's excellent. So when you say you're doing it based on a station recruitment process, so am I to infer from that we're not recruiting citywide, advertising citywide, we're reaching out to residents in the local communities around the stations to recruit for volunteers? Is that what you're doing?
So it's a bit, so through the chair to the councillor, yes, councillor, it's a bit of both, actually. We're still doing some blanket in terms of advertising to folks within the areas that are served by volunteers, but we're also getting the volunteers and the local communities involved to get them to identify folks. In fact, we just got an email the other day from folks out in Rockton where they've identified 2 people specifically in their community where we are now bringing them in to do interviews within the station. We're trying to allow the stations themselves to get more involved, to identify people. They're the ones that know the folks in the communities that may be of interest. So we find trying to use that, the folks that are on the ground to identify people seems to work. The other piece of that is that from a training perspective, get the individual stations involved in training their own people. That way we can increase the numbers of people that are able to get trained.
That sounds great. Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate that. As you know, I'm very much interested in this, so I think what you're doing is fantastic. Do you or could you and your communications people come up with some type of promotional ad that would be suitable for inclusion in social media accounts and or web pages so that the rural suburban councillors who have volunteers in their communities can also promote the recruitment process?
Through the chair to the councillor, that's an excellent idea, and certainly we can come up with something for you, councillor. Thank you.
Super. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you. Okay, we have Councillor Jackson and then Councillor Nan. Councillor Jackson.
Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. And I'll make sure I mute myself after I finish,
Yes.
Madam Chair. Chief, thank you as always for bringing forward your 10-year service delivery plan, major accomplishments and updates. I'll consistently say we're very blessed to have our Hamilton Fire Department second to none in the province of Ontario and across the country. Chief, I want to ask you how the approximate 800 members of Local 288 and the Volunteer Association, how's the morale of your members holding up during this 8 months of this horrendous time of the pandemic? And overall, I know I've only heard about the police, I think 2 or 3 members, fortunately, out of 1,200 members, testing positive for COVID on the police side. I don't recall if I've heard any on the fire side, and maybe you can just, from a medical standpoint, from a human standpoint, and how much I cherish your members, just maybe give us a quick update from that standpoint, Madam Chair, through you to the Chief.
So through the chair to the councillor, thank you, councillor, for asking the question. So I can tell you, a morale perspective, I think morale is fine within the department when it comes relative to COVID. I mean, in the early stages, like in most areas, I think there was a lot of concern. Folks were, not quite understanding. Things were moving very quickly. We were able to very quickly, answer the questions that they had in terms of protective clothing and the types of precautions they need to take. We were quickly able to move and get the necessary equipment for them. At this point, I think it's become business as usual, quite frankly, councillor. I mean, they're used to it. The precautions, we in some cases, we will make sure we go above and beyond where we need to if there's been any type of an exposure or potential exposure. Certainly working with the occupational health nurse and the health and safety team from corporate, and also with our public health friends. I think things are going quite well.
Great.
At this point, in terms of, we had our first case test positive of firefighter last week, and it was non-job related. It was came through other means, and so we've been able to deal with that again with the help of the occupational health nurse and the city staff. We have protocols in place. As you can well imagine, we always are doing things on the side of caution, and so that we have the necessary precautions set up.
Chief, relieved, delighted to hear that, because a pandemic knows no bounds in terms of when a fire occurs. Our fire services just can't stay behind a mask or stay in their homes. They're still called to service to rescue people and property. And so I'm absolutely constantly in prayer for our emergency medical people, both the paramedics, your fighters, and of course our police officers as well. So very encouraging news to hear, Chief. Please again commend your members for the outstanding work they've done, especially during the pandemic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Nan, please unmute.
Thank you through the chair. Good afternoon, Chief. Thank you for the updates, and also thank you to everyone in fire for your excellence over the year, and also, Chief, for your proactive communication whenever there is the unfortunate incidents of a fire taking place in our wards, Mr. Hughes being the last big one in Ward 3. My question to you, Chief, is in relation to the recruitment practices as well as hiring. Last time you and I had a chance to sit down and talk about the strategy before you presented it, we had chatted about equity, diversity, and inclusion being embedded into fire's operations in terms of looking at different ways to ensure that the recruitment process in and of itself is one that is without bias and that we're proactively getting the word out into our diverse communities, whether they're racialized, whether they come from different language backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, etc. That we're doing that in a proactive way and in a way that we can all support and get behind. So on that front, similarly to Councillor Clark, happy to share any information about recruitment through my social media channels, but also just wanted to hear a bit of an update from you on that end of the spectrum of the work there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Through the chair to the councillor. Councillor, yes. So in terms of an update, one of the things that we have been doing is we're working very closely with our corporate human resources area, especially on the EDI piece. There's the corporate strategy that's coming in, and we are embedding ourselves with that strategy that's being developed. And again, right now, they're using the data that they're collecting from the survey. That's going to help us in terms of that. One of the things that we have been working on is the improvement of our recruitment process. So we've been trying to ensure that we stay as inclusive as we can in terms of the people that the people's ability to apply to it. So as a fire service, we are one of the few that don't need post-secondary education. We believe that when we bring them in, can provide them with the necessary skill and knowledge through our training program. We've looked at trying to streamline it. One of the things is that we took a look at through the assistance of the human resources area in terms of making a process where it is as objective as possible, where folks, it's done in a manner where we do not have any understanding of who the people are, where they're coming from. So it's completely on their merit. The process, we've streamlined it in the last number of months to an online process in terms of some online testing, and again, that was necessitated because of COVID, but online testing, physical test. We're doing psychological testing now because of the increase in the number of PTSD claims. We want to make sure we have some baselines with that, and then there's an interview. So we've really tried to condense the process, but at the same time allow us to get a good feel for the level of a person and their ability to perform and be a fit for the Hamilton Fire Department. We also continue to, from an outreach perspective, we had plans for this year in place to do outreach both in terms of maintaining our female firefighter and training program, but also to go out to the community, to some of the communities that you and I spoke about in terms of engaging the youth to provide them some insight into what a career in the fire service is like, what those types of opportunities are, because it's not just frontline firefighting. There's a number of other areas within the fire service that they could get interested in. And obviously COVID has played a bit of a role in that one, where we've had to put some of those things on hold. But we're still working behind the scenes, and as soon as we can, we're looking for alternative ways to get that out there, as well as we're in the process of trying to, with the help of corporate HR, take another look at how best to get in and have that community interaction and what that looks like, and get a better understanding of what the needs are of the community, just so that we can understand as a fire service the types of information or programs that we can put on for them. So it's a work in progress, Councillor, is probably the best way to put it. It certainly is a focus of this plan, and a focus of myself and my leadership team over the next number of years as we try and change the whole demographic of the service.
Much appreciated. Thank you for the update, Chief.
Thank you. I would like to ask a couple of questions. Councillor Nan, can you take the chair?
Certainly, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Chief, I was reading and it said that you launched the Strong for You show on Cable 14 to demonstrate the value of a Hamilton Fire Department. When is it and when did it start? So we can let the public know.
So thank you through the chair to Councillor. So we've now done 3 or 4 episodes of this on Cable 14, and what what the purpose is to provide insight to our residents of the various divisions and the various types of work that are done by our frontline staff. People tend to understand what it is, what the frontline firefighters do, but we have many other people that perform many other functions in our fire service, and it's really important in terms of service delivery. The schedule, I don't have the dates for you right now, Councillor. I can get them for you. It's varied. They run them at different times throughout on the Cable 14 channels, but I can get those for you.
That would be great. I'd love to tweet that and let people see all the good work you guys put into. I also was wondering, would Cable 14 would be a vehicle to recruiting people? I heard Councillor Clark say about doing an ad, but would that be another vehicle for you to do some recruitment?
So through the chair to the councillor, so we have been using Cable 14 for that. In fact, one of the segments that I've already done as part of the Strong For You program focused on both recruitment for full-time people in all aspects of the fire service as well as volunteer fire service. We also in the past have run recruitment videos on that channel. And it's just one of the vehicles that we're using in terms of trying to entice people in addition to social media and print and face-to-face.
Thank you, Chief. And again, thank you for keeping Hamilton safe. Thank you. All right. I don't see any other speakers, so we'll require an e-vote to receive the report. Please indicate as soon as you get your vote here. Get back. And it's right there. Thank you. Council Marula. Councillor Clark. Oh, he just left. Yeah. And it's carried. Okay, so we're going to move on. Point 2. YWCA Senior Program Annual Operating Grant. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put the report to the floor? Councillor Marula and Councillor Jackson. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? I see none. We're going to move on and vote. Electronic vote is coming up. And thank you. All right, and it's carried. 3, Hamilton East Kiwanis Nonprofit Homes, Inc., subsidized transfer. And may I have Councillor Nan to move it? And I need a seconder? Councillor Jackson. Okay, is there any discussion on this item? I see none, and we're going to move on, and we're going to have a e-vote. Oh, Councillor Nan. They didn't. Sorry about that. Thank you, Councillor Nan.
Sorry, it's thank you, Chair. It was one of those situations where I was trying to go through eScribe and it wasn't available yet for the icon. So through you, Chair, to staff, just a quick update from staff on the same question that I had asked Mr. Sibley in terms of the rent subsidy transfer. Fundamentally, as a municipality, what we're aiming to accomplish here is maintaining the number of rent subsidy units that are available, given the affordable housing crisis and our commitment as a municipality to land as many units as needed to address our wait list. If I could, through you, Chair.
Through the chair, this is Edward John, Director of Housing Services. Absolutely. So that is the push. I did want to thank Brian Sibley for coming out, and I think he's way too modest in terms of what some of those innovative approaches he is doing and Kiwanis is overall looking towards in terms of this comprehensive approach to just that. I think you mentioned it a little bit, but there will be subsequent reports to this talking about the preservation of not just those units that are being sold, but ensuring they are, still within the realm of that affordable housing and going into the hands of the most vulnerable. So absolutely, we look to move these subsidies into brand new units to continue and ensure that we have the same target levels met. It's an ongoing comprehensive plan that we continue to move along and approve through various reports, but certainly that's the intent.
Excellent. Thank you. Happy to move it.
Thank you. Thank you. And Edward John, you look great with the new look. Okay, we're going to have a e-vote for 10.3, please. Councillor Marola said yes. It didn't come up yet. Okay, and Councillor Marola said yes. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on. 10.4. System replacement for discretionary benefits for Ontario Works, Ontario Disability Support Program, and Special Supports Low Income Program, citywide. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Jackson and Councillor Morella. Can I put this on the floor? Okay. At this time, I would like to call Bonnie Elder, Director, Ontario Works, to introduce this item. Bonnie, please turn on your microphone and the camera so we can see you. There you are.
Yes. Hi, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you. So yes, Bonnie Elder, Director of Ontario Works. Today I'm bringing forward this report to ask for approval to replace the Ontario Works existing discretionary benefits and low income benefits software system. Ontario Works and information technology staff have identified that the current Benefit Administration Management System, or BAM, and the Special Supports Low Income Database are at the end of life and not sustainable and at risk of failure. We conducted a review of systems being used by other municipalities and found only Niagara was using a system that met some of our requirements, a system developed and maintained by Clark Marketing Communications. The new system would give us the opportunity to provide an online accessibility and provide a faster, easier, and more convenient method for residents to request a service or benefit from our program. Individuals would be able to submit online applications or requests for benefits 24/7 from a smartphone, tablet, laptop, or computer through a guided step-by-step online application process. In addition, individuals would be able to submit supporting documentation online, track the status of their request, receive automatic email updates and details about the eligibility decisions. There will, of course, always remain an option for people to mail in requests and documentation and applications. By using Clark Marketing Communication, we will have a long-term supported software system, be able to leverage the proven tools and procedures already completed by Niagara, and benefit from the functionality that they already have in use. This system used by Niagara provides a good foundation for further development to meet the needs of our special support programs. This system will also give us access to real-time data and improve our automated metrics in order to identify trends, inform policy decisions, manage our capped budget amounts, and monitor our customer service. If the recommendations are approved, the new system would be implemented in 3 phases, starting before the end of 2020 with a target implementation date of the summer of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And is there any questions for Bonnie? Okay, I see none, so we're going to e-vote. It's going to come up shortly. And there it is. And everybody could vote. Councillor Murula, thumbs up. Thank you. Councillor Jackson. Oh, just got it. And it's carried. Thank you very much. We're going to general information and other business. Okay, may I have a mover and a second to put this item on the floor? Councillor Nan and Councillor Jackson, thank you. Is there any discussions on this item? Uh, okay, the amendment of the outstanding business item list 13.1, items to be removed. 13.1AA, all-season soccer facility, item on the OBL 19B, addressed as item 7.1 on today's agenda. Okay, and we're going to vote. Have the mover. Okay. Speaker, we will let. Okay, we will. Okay, thank you. Clerk, it's carried. Now, are there any items of general information or other business? I know I have Councillor Nan.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I appreciate the addition. And just wanted to start off by first saying thank you to General Manager Johnson, staff in Housing Services, Public Health, Fire, and so many other folks in other divisions and agencies for the work that they've done, not only in investigating the standards of the Emerald Lodge residential care facility, but most specifically in the rehousing of the residents and the deep care shown to the people who were truly experiencing different forms of neglect over the years through that operation. The lodge is well known to the Ward 3 office in terms of the number of complaints that we were receiving on a weekly basis of neighbors observing what residents of the lodge were having to endure. And if I could, through you, have General Manager Johnson give a public update on the entire file, if we could. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and through the chair, appreciate those comments. I do want to name Rob Mastriani, who is our manager, who looks after emergency shelters and the RCF system. And Rob was the point person on this, and he coordinated all that action and did so in it's not a great situation, because I think you've heard me in the press say that people ask, how did it go? And I say, well, from an operational perspective, once the city had to get involved, it was a very smooth operation given the situation we were dealing with. But we have to remember that we walked into a facility with our partners and others and essentially told people that they had to immediately vacate where they live. So it's a good news and a not so good news story all wrapped up in one. And I do want to acknowledge both sides of that, so it doesn't appear that we are not understanding the impact and the anxiety to people who were living there. I'm pleased to say that our last update is that only 4 of the residents that we worked with, of a total of 29, remain in a temporary shelter environment and are awaiting a more permanent place to go. That number may stay at that level for just a little bit. These folks have specific housing needs that we need to ensure are met so that they can receive a quality of care, not just a permanent place to go, but a quality of care. But along the way, as you can tell then, that 25 folks have been placed or are getting into, as we speak, have a place secured for a more permanent setting. And that's the good news of the work of the partners. And I do want to thank Good Shepherd Centers in particular. They operated not only the assessment part of this as we move people to the Cathedral Boys School, but then have also been helpful in using some of the placements options they have through their mental health housing system that they currently operate. So they have been a part of this, and other players have as well. Our 2 hospitals have been supportive along the way, and they have specific programs that are supporting some of these individuals. And again, they have worked with us. So it is a team effort around this. I do want to give a further update on the facility itself. The facility was in quite poor shape. It's the reason that were not able to stabilize the home on site, that we had to stabilize people by moving them out. So this facility has a lot to get back to any sort of function. But we believe that we need to take a step back and really review the role that this facility, this location would play within our housing with support system, and in particular, its role as a residential care facility. So a couple of things have occurred in the last week. I have written to this home, and so has Ken from a licensing perspective, Ken Leenders, to inform them that at this stage, there is no immediate action the city would take in terms of licensing this facility should someone step forward and want to start up operations, nor to provide subsidy through the city of Hamilton for people who would reside there. And that is an unusual step. Normally, we let the applications come in, but as you know, these homes are up for sale. And what we don't want is there to be any confusion by those that are potentially going to purchase this facility or other type of facilities, that there's just going to be an automatic business as usual approach here. So I did take that step and sent it to the receiver who's in charge of the financial and the sale of the home, the Emerald Lodge, to be very crystal clear that there is, for the foreseeable future, no subsidy agreement that we're contemplating entering into at that facility. And from a licensing perspective, they do not have a license to operate. It's expired. And, you know, that process too would may be lengthy, as we would want to do a huge amount of due diligence around this. So I think that's an important update for this committee to understand. You know that we are looking at our residential care facility system as a whole, trying to understand how best to modernize it. And this is something that's embraced by many of the homes. But while we're in this process of re-examining it, I think we need to make sure we take pauses in certain cases. I would also like to inform the committee today that the Retirement Home Regulatory Authority has issued, it's publicly available today, it was issued 2 days ago to the home, has issued a management order to another retirement home and residential care facility from this ownership group, and that is the Cathmar Retirement Home and Residential Care Facility. So that management order is that there will soon be on site a new operator of the home, manager of the home. And that again shows you that we continue to be in flux here. And that is why we're trying to take this step back approach and ensure that we understand what's happening within the system itself, and we understand where best to invest our time and energies while we stabilize a few homes that seem to be in a bit of flux at the moment. So this has been an ongoing, you know, now 6-week issue for us once we heard, and again, completely surprised to hear that a number of these homes were going up for sale and that one of them was in receivership. So we're just trying to get a handle on that. And that's why we've taken some of these pause exercises, but also I did want to give you that quick update that we're down to just 4 individuals who we're working with in terms of finding a more permanent placement for them moving forward.
Much appreciated. Thank you to General Manager Johnson, the whole team, everybody involved in this moment, and also to the chair and the committee for giving me the opportunity to get that update out in public. Thank you.
Councillor Nan, could you take the chair for me?
Certainly, the floor is yours.
Thank you. General Manager Paul Johnson, I know how poorly this RCF was run, but can you make the public statement that not all of them are run poorly? Because I know there's one that on actually some Ward 1 that's run outstanding. I've been there many times. So can you assure us that there are some RCF that are run perfectly outstanding? Can you assure the public that?
Absolutely, and more than just 1 or 2. Many of the homes are well run, and in fact, what was really great is some of them stepped up and said, "Hey, how can we help?" And you know, some people will say cynically, "Well, they stepped up from a monetary perspective." They did not. They stepped up truly because they just wanted to know if they could be helpful. Some of them have a few spaces available, and that's good because residential care facilities can be an important piece in the grand puzzle of affordable housing. So you are quite right. And our whole modernization exercise is around doing just that, supporting, and we believe that it will mean more investment from the city in targeted ways, those that are really working hard with us. But the other side is to say to some that have an antiquated model of it, quite frankly, that this may be a chance to do something a little bit different. I will say, because there is a lot of rhetoric out there also, that, you know, this has been a huge problem for years. Some of the operations of it, no doubt we've received complaints, but from the standpoint of what the city can do and its oversight in terms of licensing and inspections, you know, the degradation of this home in the last month before we decanted it was something we've never seen. And I can share with you, because I've shared it publicly, it's not a secret, that I went to bed on Thursday evening believing I was waking up on the Friday with a way that we were stabilizing people in the home, and then received phone calls through the morning on Friday that said it did not appear that was going to happen. And in fact, there had been further degradation of the physical plant structure as well as the ability to properly run the program. So in as much as just 12 hours, we saw changes occurring in the way that this home was operating and the way that this home was physically being held together. So I just want to assure the public that we are doing inspections regularly through public health, through municipal bylaw, as well as our folks are out there from our residential care facility perspective. We have outreach folks that and caseworkers that know what's happening in these homes. We are on top of it, and that's exactly what happened through the month of October. Through our almost daily inspections, we were slowly building what we thought was a way to go forward. Unfortunately, we had to go a different direction, but part of the reason the operation was so smooth on that Friday evening is that we were not surprised and we were not caught off guard by this. It had been a growing thing through the month of October. Back to your original question, many are not in this situation, well run. And I know because we're in this COVID environment, I do need to give a lot of credit to the entire residential care facility system.
Right.
We have not had outbreaks in our residential care facility system. Even where there have been gaps in infection prevention and control, these organizations and these owners have been able to find ways to do their job well. And then we've supported them with some cash injections in order to help them with their COVID-related costs. So lots of things to be happy about, but in this particular case, just not a good story in this one-off situation.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So we're going to move on. Okay, private and confidential. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the closed session minutes of October 8, 2020? Councillor Marula and Councillor Jackson. Is there any discussion on this item? I see none. We're going to Evo, please. And the motion was carried. Yes. Okay. Thank you. 14.2. Dominic Agostino, Riverdale Recreation Center License Agreement. That's in Ward 5. Members of the committee, do you wish to move into closed session to discuss item 14.2? Council Marula. I can't hear you. Unmute.
Madam Chair, I'll just move it. And just as an FYI,
Yeah.
I downloaded Chrome, and now I can vote
Yay!
online. Thank
You're
you very
updated.
much.
Great.
Indeed.
Great. Thank you. All right. So, okay. May I please have a mover as out to approve? Oh. Moving the report. So we don't need to go in closed session. Madam Clerk. Okay, so may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Marula and Councillor Jackson. Woo! Here we go. We will require a Evo, and Councillor Marula is updated, so he's going to vote. Love it. All right, I just want to say that Councillor Marula is always updated. Okay, and it's carried. All right, let's move on. Motion defeated in private. Last page. Okay, may I please, this is the most important one now. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Everybody's happy? Councillor Nan and Councillor Marula. Thank you. And have a great weekend. Oh, we need to vote. I'm getting too excited here. We could all go biking tomorrow. It's supposed to be 20 degrees. 20 degrees.
Gorgeous day tomorrow. It
So
was today too.
Yeah, Councilor Barula, you want to bike with myself and my husband?
What time are you
50K?
going?
Well,
50.
we're
Oh,
going
that's
up
a little too steep. I got other things to do too, you know.
you have to work, right?
No. I mean, other work. I multi-phase.
Multitask.
Yeah,
Correct.
multitask. That's right.
Okay, I think we all in favor of that.
Indeed.
Councilor Barula, you need to vote.
Oh, sorry. Let me just get my Chrome.
Get updated. Bye.
I got my Chrome here going on here. Here we go.
Councilor Jackson, thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Councilor Jackson, are you still there? Okay. Zora working today.
See
with
everybody.
our cast. Bye. Okay, great. Say what?